Hello. So, greetings to everyone, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are viewing already. Welcome to Issues in Focus with Shibiki Vibers, yet another edition. Well, last week, of course, you would have known about our unfortunate event that occurred, but nevertheless, we are here live and direct, and I have my special guest here with us this evening. But just before I tell you anything whatsoever about him, of course, members of the audience, I'm going to pray for you at this point in time. Loving God, we are so thankful for the members of the audience and their constant support over the year. I pray, Lord, that you will be with them. Tonight's program, indeed, it will be an inspiration to someone out there who may not know where to turn to. And Lord, as we speak about struggles to triumph, I pray indeed that hearts and lives will be blessed. Have your way, we pray through Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, so my special guest is here with me. I know last week, Castillo, some persons would have checked for the link. They didn't get the notification early, and I
Alright.
was informed like, "Hey, what's going on? I have not seen anything. What really happened?" And then I realized that some persons did not get the message that the program was off due to my Wi-Fi issues. But I usually say that that's a moment in which you know for sure that God has great things in store. When these things happen, and then you can override them and you can overcome them, and you know that God is here. So Castillo is from Jamaica, and Williams. One of the things I always usually tell my audience it's so difficult to have people from Jamaica. There's some programs I have. I'm like, I need a Jamaican to be on, and maybe this may be my third guest. Yeah, my third official guest from Jamaica since I'm doing the program. And so it's such a pleasure that you're here.
I
I want
am indeed elated. Thank you for having me on your program, Shabiki. I am rather
beautiful.
elated. Hello to my colleagues, my friends, my people in Jamaica, my people in Trinidad, across the region, and the world. Hello, and thanks again, Shabiki, for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. So of course, we are streaming from both YouTube and Facebook at this point in time. And so we just want to say welcome to everyone. And the only how I can know that you're viewing is if you put a comment in the comment section so that we know that you are here. To Mark, Burnett, welcome, and to Abigail, Josiah, welcome. To the two of you so far who've commented. I know there are other anonymous viewing persons who are viewing. All right, so let's get straight into it. Ca- Castillo, I know as we're exploring the topic struggles to triumph this evening, and there's so much that can be said. And I know for a fact that your journey has been one that indeed we can see the hands of God on your life. And so we would start off. To the members of the audience, we are looking at an individual here who would have completed secondary school and gained only one CXC subject. And so, Castillo, I want you to tell us about the beginning of your secondary school journey. What type of student were you? For me, being a teacher, I mean, this is intriguing, and I really want to know what sort of student, because when a student completes school and only have one CXC subject, I have to ask myself a million questions. So tell us about your secondary school journey.
In- interesting. And audience and Shabiki, please forgive me for any nuance that you may hear in the background. Not in my personal space due to the time constraint, and I really wanted to make today possible, especially given the unfortunate and unforeseen circumstance that we would have encountered last week. Right, I didn't want to make any excuses for us not having the show. You ask about my high school experience. Well, and yes, you have to ask questions when you hear a student completing 5 years of learning, and the major school leaving exams, they underperform. You wonder who, whether the student failed themselves or they are doing fraternity field students, but questions are to be asked. And personally, in my substance, I went to Porus High School um, for 5 years. I was in the fifth stream. I was in the fifth stream because the school is a rank and file school from one stream up to five stream, whereas you do an entrance test upon entering the school, and they place you based on your performance. So I was in the five stream, one being the lowest, being the highest at that institution. As it relates to grade, because I hate to say people are dunce or whatever. But at a particular time, you sit a particular exam and whatever the grade they based on that. So I was placed in the five stream, and I was in the five stream up to fourth form, which would be grade 10. Grade 10 would be the pre CXC grade. They start preparing more aggressively for the external exams and so forth. But before you move on to that, they would have given you what they call a mock exam, internal mock exam, to test your readiness for the external exams. Um, I wasn't a perfect student, but I was always a high performing student. I was always, you know, coming in the top 10 or the top 5 or whatever be it not, despite of my somewhat troublesome, you know, attitude and behavior, which probably we can say was what affected me in the fifth form for me to underperform on the mock exams, right? For some reason, I slacked off. That's the only conclusion that I can come to. I slacked off, and it resulted in me flunking the mock exams. I only got qualified for three CXC. Um, right, I only got qualified for three CXC because they give you what they call a sheet. A sheet. What they call it? It's I don't. It's a sheet though that you take to your tutors for them to affix their signature to it. If they feel that you're qualified to sit the exams, right? I only got three signatures. I only got three signatures. Embarrassingly, I only got three from the lot of subjects that I would have been taking at the time. I was qualified for principles of business, English literatures, and mathematics. Right. I would have taken the external exams, the CXC, and of the three subjects that I took, I only passed one, which was the principles of business. Whoa, that was a shocker for me. Again, that was a shocker for me. I already underperformed and doing three subjects and only managed to pass one from the three. Um,
So,
to be honest with you,
Williams, just before you continue, um,
right,
you mentioned English literature being one of the subjects that you were recommended for. Is it
right,
that
right.
you were an excellent lit student? Because I know that's one subject students don't want to do, and students don't even do well at that subject. So tell me about
um, but that in itself was somewhat mind-boggling for me because imagine getting endorsed for English literature and not getting endorsed for English A,
literature.
because at the time that was English A and English B, right? And at the time for me, I thought English literature was the more challenging of the two. You know, you'd have to read these um, novels and so forth. You have to learn all the literary concepts and yada yada. But I thought that English B was a little bit more challenging, and I got recommended for that, so I couldn't understand. But as I said again, I flunked the mock exam, so that probably affected me getting recommended. But I did get recommended for English literature probably because I was performing above average in that class in particular. Um, I did like literature, English literature. I did like reading novels. I did like, um, the whole concept of English literature. It was a little more engaging at the
Okay.
time.
And
So, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Right. So, learning that I only passed one of the three, As I said, it was rather embarrassing, and I did not know how to deal with that really. I requested, or I opted to for I opted for a repeat. Right, I went to the principal to ask for a repeat of fifth form so that I could get a second attempt at CXCs again, given the very I don't know what to call it, but that outcome there, I really wanted to, you know, reestablish myself. However, I was denied that opportunity um, to re to re to repeat fifth form. I was referred to an evening program that the school had in place at the time
Okay.
to resit the two that I had failed, the two exams that I had failed. Um, I did start for about 2 weeks. I rode my bicycle, went by the school, and I just could not fit in. I was not comfortable. I just felt like a failure. For the whole time, the whole 2 weeks, I felt like a failure, like I don't belong here. And you'd have now be seeing some of your colleagues who you would have known, um, and they know what the evening program is about, you know. So that's like a stigma right there, a
Yeah.
stereotype, and that's how I felt like I was in that stigma or in that stereotype. So I discontinued. I discontinued. I was home for the balance of that year, not doing anything. A young graduate, 17 years of age, young male graduate, 17 years of age, one
Yeah.
CX from rural Jamaica. You can just imagine that story right there.
Yeah.
And not that I don't have parents who my parents. I have great parents. They did very well with the resources that they had. Very resourceful people. My mom and my dad, extended family too, because I'm very close to them. But you know, we are from a very, for want of a sophisticated term, economically challenged upcoming
Yeah.
in rural Jamaica. So you have to be resilient and you have to be very resourceful when you are faced with those kind of circumstances, right? My parents had four of us. It was four of us. I'm the second, and I have two younger siblings. So while I was at that stage where I just graduated high school, um, I had two younger brothers who were still enrolled in school.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, so you can just imagine failing out from the CXCs, which is external exams, and then graduating now with. I thought I buckled my shoe a little bit too late. I buckled my shoe a little bit too late in fifth form, right? Um, because I managed. When I got demoted, I actually got demoted from 10.5 to 11.4, right? And that was a struggle to adapt to um, that demotion. But I did pull my socks up somewhat, and I managed to graduate with top honors in about three areas. I copped some
Beautiful.
awards, about three areas at the graduation, the school leaving ceremony. You know, that gave me some hope as well.
Yeah.
That gave me some hope because I was very elated, and I remember my parents were as well among my friends. Yeah, man. I walked across that stage and collected 3 hours when I heard my name calling for math. I was standing student in math. I was standing student in
Wow.
English A, and I was standing student in information technology. To date, I still have those awards to show. I still have them. Yeah, man. And those awards gave me hope. So I remember
Yeah.
reaching out to one of my aunt. because I learned that she had a connection with Homewood Technical High School. Quite a number of my relatives would have gone to that institution, right? So they would have been known. And that's what I kept thinking, that I wanted to go to Homewood. I wanted to go to Homewood because I got
Yeah.
denied the repeat at Forest High School. So I'm on to plan B. Homewood was the next best option in my head. So I utilized my aunt's connection and I asked her if she could try and get me in Homewood. At the time, they wanted me to repeat fourth form. They said that I
Wow.
could just graduate and go into fifth form. I had to repeat fourth form there. And I did not want to do that, to be honest. I just wanted to go and go straight at CXC, to be
Yeah,
honest.
that's a hard one.
I was over school, you know. I just wanted to redeem myself immediately. That's what I wanted. So with that, I sat out 1 year, not doing anything, just fooling around and idling and, you know, being
So,
exposed to all manner of evil. Go ahead.
basically that you're going back to fourth form basically like showed off the trajectory of your life at that point in time. So you
Exactly.
moving from okay, yeah, I'm here, I've accomplished, I want to continue this, and then to go down there. Wow. And that's a central message. Just thinking about it, sometimes even as teachers, um we can go into the mode of basically judging students' performance or thinking that somebody can't achieve. I mean, looking at that, somebody coming with three subjects, like, and you put them back in fourth form, like, I mean, I guess every country system is totally different because I know
Right.
in Guyana, most times people go back to private school. Some people will come back to fifth form, but kind of most people don't really want to go back to that school or go back to another school in fifth form. People will think, hey, I
It's
repeating.
a lot of stigma. It's a
But
lot of stigma. Stereotype.
yeah,
Right.
but in Trinidad and Tobago here, I noticed that students would move from time to time to another school in fifth form. Nobody puts them back into fourth form
Fourth
again.
form. Right.
Yeah,
But
but
that was the reality at that point. They wanted
wow.
me to start from fourth form again, and I could not have that.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't al- aligning with my ambition at the time to reestablish myself. Just go back
Yeah.
at the CXCs. So I sat out the year. I sat out the year. You can imagine, as I said, being exposed to a lot of stuff. Um, yeah, and I got got into Homewood now after that, after sitting out that year, and I went into 11D at Homewood Technical High School. And I was very poised and serious about reestablishing myself at this point. So I in quickly integrated. I quickly integrated. I was attentive. I was at the front of the class, cooperating. I was teacher's best friend at one point.
Wow.
Just to convince them that I am ready. And you can recall, I did not go into Homewood with um
Mm-hmm.
any great, what you'd call, record,
Yeah.
right? Because as I said, it was that challenge at fifth form at Porus High School. So transitioning to Homewood, I didn't have any great record,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I had to do what I had to do to convince the tutors that I am CXC ready. But Homewood had somewhat of a more relaxed recommendation system as opposed to Porus High School, I must say,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were quicker to give you an opportunity to go at the exams, because what you find in Jamaica though, is that some of the institutions, they have what they call a pass rate,
Yeah.
which they are very keen on maintaining.
Yeah.
Most traditional high schools play that game. They run that
True.
risk. They will only recommend you if they can guarantee a pass from you, because they're trying to maintain that 100% or 90% pass rate, and that's what they use to rank most of the schools in terms of their performances.
That's right.
I don't respect that kind of system, but hey, that's how they do their thing. A lot of students get left behind or get denied of opportunities, you know, because of those kinds of system. I wish they find
Mm-hmm.
more interactive approaches
Yeah.
to test the students' readiness and aptitude. They just give you one mock exam, and if you fail it, you fail it. You're not ready, or
That's
if
it.
you whatever. They need to do more to give students more opportunities. So going back to Homewood now,
Mm-hmm.
I got recommended for 7 subjects.
Oh,
I
beautiful.
got recommended for 7 subjects
Mm-hmm.
within 2 months. 2 months, because September they're the usual requirement. Around November they're so you can start preparing, get ready, and then CXC usually in May, June, thereabout. So
Yeah.
you'd have a few months to know what you're doing to. Right. I managed to pass 6 of the 7. I failed math again for the second time.
Mm.
Nothing to be smiling about. But I
Yeah.
failed math not
Wow.
once but twice.
Mm.
Not once but twice I failed math. But that didn't bother me at the time because I copped 6, and I got like 5 grade 2s and
Oh.
a grade 1. So I got some
Mm.
good passes too.
So
Right,
at
right.
this point, you were what age? But 19 or so?
I was right. I was 18 going 19.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, I was 18 going 19. So um yeah, but that none of that came without some adversities, as you know, because
Yeah.
at home what I got involved in I mean, I wasn't after I got recommended for my
Mm-hmm.
subjects and so forth. I got settled in, and I was somewhat, you know, on the journey of establishing myself. I am now recommended for 7 CXCs after going to Porus High School for 5 years and only getting recommended for 3. I'm now going to Homewood for 2 months and getting recommended for 7. You know,
Yeah.
um, I'm sure Porus High School would have done something to me in terms of development. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, right? Some nurturement took place there, and I am, of course, indebted to those tutors and educators there. Um, so I made some friends. I
Okay.
made some friends, and they weren't necessarily on the same path that I was on. So I got distracted somewhat under the realm of peer pressure, I must say.
Hmm.
Right, and we actually formulated a crew that we called
A crew or a
uh,
gang? Which one of them? Because I
whatever
know
you want to call it. So,
crew is a very euphemistic term for what you guys, different countries they have. Okay. All right,
um,
we're gonna use the
I,
word
I,
crew.
I don't want to say gang, but sometimes it's labeled as such because of you getting into certain activities. It
Okay.
was more
Yeah.
like a crew because we weren't primarily intended to do anything malicious. It was
Okay.
really surrounding music because my friends, they were passionate about
Oh.
music. They were passionate
Mm-hmm.
about music, but sometimes doing music, it especially dancehall or those kind of genres, rap or so forth, it tend to come with feud or issue.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. So that's what happened. My friends, they were into music, and the crew was really about music. We would leave school or school and go to the studio. We would be doing, all of that sort. Right. But for somewhere along the line, we started getting into issues with other um, boys from the school, other crews. Right, right. And before you know it, there was a feud between my friends and I and some other guys that escalated into some big issue,
Wow.
and then it was ongoing for some time. It was music at first, and then there was an altercation, and then there was some physical activity, and then it outburst into stuff, and then the whole threat and this and that, and you have to be looking over your shoulders, and the fights they would come. you
Yeah.
know so we had this huge exchange at one point, and they opted to retaliate, and it brought some attention to us, um, because I remember vividly one of my friend was held at gunpoint in the schoolyard by some outsiders that was
Mm-hmm.
called upon by these other guys, you know. And yeah, man, the school authority got involved, and they had to handle that issue. And that was when we got called to a meeting with the the principal and the vice principal at
Mm-hmm.
Homewood. And yeah, man, they gave us a stern warning, you know, because they were hearing about the name of our crew and so forth. But then this issue, the situation brought
Yeah.
special attention to us.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. And they gave us a stern warning that any further disruption in such regard will warrant excessive excessive punishment,
Mm-hmm.
expulsion or the like. And I
Yeah.
personally could not have that. I personally could not have
Exactly.
that. Right. So I kind of rest back and you know, realign myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right, realign myself, and we went through high school, and as I went through Homewood, and as I said, I passed 6 of the 7 subjects that I took. Um, I didn't know what from there though. I didn't know what from there because by this time I called it object bingo for me. That was my
Okay.
primary target at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Um, and as I said, I am from an economically challenged background. So,
Yeah.
being in that situation, as my parents, my parents, they weren't the kind of parents or at least they didn't have time or the exposure to
Mm.
be pushing you to say, sixth form or university or any of that. Um, they were more poised on survival, really, fending
Wow.
for, fending for us, hustling or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
providing for us day to day. They weren't on a monthly budget. They weren't on a
Yeah.
monthly budget. So growing up, that it was like that. It was survival, really. So they weren't the parents who
Mm-hmm.
were who were who were definitive about you completing high school, moving on to sixth form, moving on to university, getting
Mm-hmm.
a corporate job or whatever. But at the same time, they were the ones to encourage you to move on to the next level, though.
Yeah.
Keep going, right? Um, so I had along my journey at Homewood, I had due to being exposed to whatever related activities and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
The guidance counselor became one of my best confidant there,
Oh, beautiful.
right? Miss Pearline Sharp. Um, she became one of my confidant there. And I
Mm-hmm.
recall when I completed fifth form, it was her that recommended me to sixth
Mm.
form.
Oh,
She
beautiful.
pushed me to sixth form, and I remember telling her that I don't have those kind of resource. I don't have no money to
Yeah.
go. My parents don't have it. You know what I mean? But she did assure me that I need not worry about that. She would take
Mm.
care of that.
Wow.
And that's how I got into sixth form. Really, I applied and I got accepted, and I
So
right I
in
went
so before you continue, the Jamaican system, is it that when a student finishes CSEC, it's like basically kind of compulsory to go to sixth form, or that's a choice?
unnecessarily compulsory, but
Mm-hmm.
should you should you have the goal of going to maybe University of the West Indies, having CAPE qualifications is um, one of their primary
Means of
qualification.
acceptance. Oh, okay.
Right. You need CAPE. You need your CXCs and you need CAPEs. I think they're like 5 CXCs and maybe 4
Yeah.
CAPEs.
Okay.
Right. Probably sometimes they may go outside of the realm of that, depending on whatever else you have packaged. But
Yeah.
right, but for like certain, like University of Technology, I think you can go there without KIPS. But these are things that I did not know. I didn't have
Mm.
mentors. I didn't have those kind of. I mean, I wasn't exposed to stuff like that at my time. Maybe it was a case where for certain students who they identify as top performing students and students who they rest faith in that will they see moving
Yeah.
on, they see the potential in, then they will
Mm-hmm.
probably expose them to those kind of academic mentorship. But I did not know things like this, like
Mm.
university qualification. I had no eyes set on going to university. Rather, I must say. But Miss Sharp referred me to sixth form, and I went. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting a warning from the coordinators when I went to the meeting. That they will not tolerate any bad apple behavior. You know
Yeah.
that they recall me being involved in fifth form. Because it was actually a huge thing in the school, in the institution, and we were very popular for that. So they knew, and they warned me, and I obliged, and I did guarantee them that I was on a different path at this point, especially the fact that I was almost alone from my colleagues. None of my
Mm-hmm.
friends transitioned to sixth form. None of my friends transitioned to sixth form. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
I went on to sixth form, and I did what I had to do. Um, wasn't Still wasn't a perfect student, but
Yeah.
I was on an upward trajectory, and I did what I had to do. And I in lower six I took four KIPs, and I passed all four with good grades, grade three and grade two. If you know the KIP system, from
Yeah.
one to five, one being
Mm-hmm.
highest. I mean, I think five is a pass, or maybe I fail. I don't remember, but I think it was one being highest, and then two,
Yeah.
three, four, right?
Mm.
Uh, so I got some grade twos and some grade threes,
Wow.
and I was heavily commended because I remember the
Yeah.
coordinators they really commended me. I was even supposed to get an award at the school leaving ceremony, and I did not go.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I did not go.
Why?
Even at fifth form, I was to get an award at the graduation, and I did not go to the graduation either because those things just never mattered to me at that point. I
Okay.
graduated poorest and I got some awards, and I just wanted to get my CXCs, to be honest. And after
Mm-hmm.
getting them, I mean, nothing else mattered really, you
Wow.
know. Yeah, 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 because that's just how it was at the time. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
take pride in all of those things, fancy things. Um, but yes, I moved on to upper sixth at this point, and I did manage to. I took three capes and I did pass all three as well. So I know had seven capes. So it's from
Mm-hmm.
seven or eight CXCs now to you know. Oh, by the way, in lower six of sixth form, I
Mm-hmm.
did took math along with the four capes, right? And I passed math after taking it for the third time. I got a grade three. That grade three felt like a grade one at the time, though.
Of course.
Felt
Yeah.
like a grade one at the time, to be honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I know how to eight CXCs and four kips. And then I moved on to upper six and I got three more kips. And
Yeah.
at that point, I didn't know what next. I didn't know what next. My parents barely know how I managed to make it through sixth form. Many a times I leave my home. I leave my home there. I mean, I got off their payroll at one point. I just took myself off their
Mm.
payroll because I saw the struggle and I just wanted to take some responsibility. And like many a
Yeah.
times I told them, Mommy, don't worry about it, man, Daddy, I'm cool. And they're very understanding people, very understanding, great
Yeah.
parents, as I said. Yeah, man, I always know them to be trying people.
Hmm.
Love them dearly. Yeah, man. Andrew Williams and Pamela Williams. Great people. So, as I said, after completing upper six, I was not sure what next. But by this time, you would have been learning about tertiary, you know,
Yeah.
and that ambition started forming. But then I did not know how I would resource that. Don't know how I would
Mm.
fund that, you know. So I took my mind off of it. But I remember um, Miss Sharp again. Miss Sharp again. She gave me some insight and some directions. She was trying to get me because she was at the time the she was in charge of one of the scholarship program. She was in charge of a scholarship program at the institution
Mm-hmm.
at Hope. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man. She liaison closely with the alumni association, and she's the person who is in charge of the scholarships there. So she was trying to get me onto one of the scholarships that she had there. I wasn't successful though. I wasn't successful, but um, she referred me to student loan to sign up with student loan.
Okay.
That's a student loan bureau,
Mm-hmm.
the student loan bureau, Jamaica Student Loan Bureau. So they are the public tertiary financing institution for needy and otherwise students. I mean, not that every student who use the bureau will be needy. Some will just use it because it's there, and
Yeah.
you know it's better to use other people's money sometimes than your own.
True.
But for student loan, that's probably not the wisest choice. If you have your own money, you can fund your tuition. I'll tell anybody, fund it out of your pocket. You know, zero
Exactly.
interest. You'll have to pay back. You'll
Exactly.
have to
So
pay back
true.
zero interest. Right. But I applied to student loan, and I was qualified, and I fortunately had the beneficiaries had
Mm-hmm.
the guarantors to guarantee me. You know, my aunt and my uncle, they opted to be the guarantors without question. You know, at
Wow,
the
that's
time that was
good.
the least that they probably could have done for me.
Yeah.
You know, and they were excited that I am moving on to university and all of that. You know, so
And so what you did at
happily,
home?
happily,
Mm-hmm.
happily, they assisted me. So I
Wow.
moved on to UE, not knowing what I wanted to do initially, but I had applied to two programs there. I had
Okay.
applied to two programs there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Computer engineering and man, um, human resource management. Two different faculties, two different programs,
Yeah.
and I got accepted for both too.
Wow.
But I decided I liked information technology at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
I principles of business, principles of accounts, electronic document and preparation management. The businesses were my area, my we call vocational area
Mm-hmm.
during high school. Both
Okay.
Homewood and Porus, I did the business subjects
Mm-hmm.
along with IT as well. But I was more exposed to the business, so I guess a greater like was there because of a greater grasp.
Yeah.
So I went on with the human resource management. Um, in my first term at UA, first semester, year one, semester one, you know, I was doing five courses. I was doing five courses, and I've only passed two of the five. I failed three.
Mm.
At the end of that semester, I failed three of those courses. Resulted in me having a 0.36 GPA with a warning. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
I later found out why. I performed so miserably
Mm-hmm.
after being referred to academic counseling and all of that. You know,
Oh.
I started counseling and by the university health center.
Mm-hmm.
And in going to those sessions, I started to learn more about myself and what was actually affecting me.
Oh.
You know, yeah, I
Wow.
was struggling with the transition. the transition from rural to this huge urban institution,
Mm-hmm.
along with personal struggles, economic struggles, and
Yeah.
at the time, my parents they were separating after being, in a
Oh.
union for more than or over 2 decades.
Hmm.
Right,
Yeah.
that was since my birth at the time. Since my
Yeah.
birth at the time, they had a union and they were separating. It wasn't the most happy or attractive separation you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine, you know.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
being one of the eldest child, almost a mediator or literally a mediator,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Right, so I was coping with a lot at that point. Um, so economic struggles, family struggles, academic struggles resulted in me. I almost actually failed all five, I almost failed all five because I barely passed
Wow.
the other two. Barely passed
Yeah,
the other
because
two.
the GPS says it all.
Barely passed the other two. And
Yeah.
as I said, being referred to academic counseling was a life saver and a life changer for me. And I took kindly to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they recommended quite a number of stuff that you know, I ventured,
Yeah.
right, from bursary assistance, to extracurricular activity, to
Mm-hmm.
club and society. So I started now integrating more, you know, and as I said, doing those counseling sessions, it would have had you doing the inventory. Each time
Mm.
you go back, you have to do like an inventory, a personal inventory, because they'll ask you all these questions and they'll test
Yeah.
your development or how well you are, improving. And trust me, Shabiki, um, I was recovering. I moved on to second
Mm-hmm.
semester and I passed, I think, four of the subjects. I got some A's. I failed one subject. I think it was business law that I had failed. It had a very high failure rate too. Had
Yeah.
a very high failure rate. It's a law course you're doing in management studies,
Yeah. That
and
can be
how the law
difficult. Yeah.
courses are structured, if you don't understand them, you'll fail them because you have to learn these
Exactly.
cases and apply these
That's right.
cases and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. So it's more like a practical almost kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it's one big final exam that you're doing. So it's almost 100% exam at stake. So you don't get mid
Mm-hmm.
semesters and stuff like that that you benefit from in
Wow.
management studies at the time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So it was like a big final exam, and I failed it because I didn't understand it really. But
Yeah.
I still saw light because at this point I passed four of the four other courses, and as I said, I got A's and B's, which was impressive,
Definitely.
impressive.
Yeah.
Um, and I was now benefiting from greater guidance from the administrators because I took my issues to them and I
Mm-hmm.
took my struggles to them, and they were very inviting and helpful, welcoming people. You know,
Exactly.
One
Exactly.
special lady to me, yeah, man, Miss Rashford at the time. She worked in the management studies main office, and I went to her. I met her at the orientation.
Mm-hmm.
I met her at the orientation, right? But I went to her and I let her know that I'm really struggling and whatever. And she was like a mother figure,
Yeah.
a university mother figure. I could go to her at any time for any advice or, you know, when I had course selections and so forth, she'd help me go through the handbook and whatever. You can do that as an elective.
Nice.
Oh, don't do that. You don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I avoided any problems, academic problems, really, because I was so guided by these helpful people.
And
So,
before you
what?
continue, Williams,
Uh,
I just want to inject a point here. Oftentimes you mentioned that you told them your struggles. And over time we find that whether it be student or whoever, no one can you cannot be helped if people don't know you're going through a problem. So sometimes,
Exactly
yeah,
right.
you're feeling as if, wait, these people,
The
I've
pride and
heard
your ego.
students saying, yeah, you're blaming the university, you're blaming the school, nobody cares for you. I'm like, and everybody's sitting there like, I don't know you have a problem. You need to come and tell me you have a problem.
Yeah, because the entities are there though,
That's the
and the people
point.
are there, and trust
Yes.
me, they're willing to help too. You know, ready and willing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They're ready and willing. But I set aside ego. To be honest, I set aside ego, and I
Yeah.
asked for help. You know, I was not ashamed, and I received
Beautiful.
help. I got a lot of help along the journey, and
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, I was serious about the change in my life because I know where I'm coming from. You
Yeah.
know, humble beginnings, struggling upbringing, exposure to all kind of peer pressure, and I mean, life could have gone differently, but here I am at university trying to make a better way. So I didn't want to fail out on that. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want to fail out on that, and I moved on. I recovered immaculately. I completed UA with a lower second class degree,
Mm-hmm.
bachelor's degree at the time. After, you know, as I said, a very challenging first semester.
Yeah.
Right, I worked and worked. I remember going to summer schools. You know, I forego a lot of things. I forego a lot of um social activities. A lot of I even forego for the first semester. I forego summer employment because I decided
Hmm.
that right. Because actually, I had to do resit two of the courses because they were prerequisites for year two.
Oh, yeah.
They were prerequisites for year two, so I had to do them over. When I did them and I passed them, you know, God bless my aunt at the time. You know, I'm on student loan, but student loan don't fund failures. You know, if you fail, they don't fund that. You have
Exactly.
to find that
Yeah.
out of pocket. And I didn't even know that at the time. And that was when I
Mm-hmm.
even found out how much it cost for one course. At the
Wow.
time, it was $22,500 for one course because I remember paying $45,000 off of my aunt's credit card at the time. Yeah, man, Nicola Williams, I love her dearly. She
Mm-hmm.
was there for me at that time. You know, $45,000 at the time, and I didn't I didn't make it go to waste. You know,
Man, I love that. Yeah.
Here I am today as testimony did not waste. But
Mm-hmm.
right, I completed
Exactly.
the program with a lower second class degree, almost a upper second class too, because it was like a 2.56 or 5.7 GPA at the time.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
still.
and
Yeah.
yeah, right, and that was it took a lot to get to that level. A lot of discipline, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sleepless nights, a lot of sacrifice, I can tell you, because my university years were very challenging,
Mm-hmm.
very challenging. Um, I recall like not being able to fund um, transportation and
Wow.
meal, you know, sufficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to resort for economically friendly ways to reduce the burden. You know, yeah, man, a lot of snack munching and foregoing
Yeah.
certain meals, um, sleeping over at the library. You know, like God bless the UA main library. At the time, it was 24 hour facility. It was open for the
Mm-hmm.
entire night. You know, um, it was open for the entire night, and they didn't close the doors on you because you are there studying, or you can take your naps and whatever. They have no
So they
policy
have
against
special
that.
beds or something?
No, they don't.
Oh,
The chairs are
chairs and
very
table.
comfortable.
Okay.
They're very comfortable, and for some they have like some sitting rooms that would have like couches and so forth.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
those were facilities and resources backed by popular demand. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
you don't reach there early to get one of them, other students with similar circumstance and struggle would be first in line to benefit.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
and that's the life of a lot, not just myself, because I have a lot of colleagues and friends who've been through that struggle, and I applaud
Mm-hmm.
them to date because they stayed true to their journey. and I'm sure someday they'll look back to. Um, so
Definitely.
I'm not unique with struggles like those. I am not, and I wish not to believe
Yeah.
that because I've seen it. I've seen other students who go through hungry days. We have to break bread and share bread. You know, there were
Mm-hmm.
some colleagues or some friends who I would have formed um, while going through studies who would have been a little bit more economically fortunate than I. And sometimes they would cook and they would offer you dinner, or they would cook and invite you, or they would cook and take it for you. You know, because as I said, I wasn't ashamed of my struggle personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm hungry, I'm hungry.
I
If
like
I'm
that.
broke, I'm
Yeah.
broke.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just me from an early point. That was just me. I was vocal about that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I had so much discipline. People respected me. I was so poised and humble. People respected
Yeah.
me. You know, a lot of people wouldn't look at me and assume or tell that I was of that kind of I was exposed to that kind of liberty. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, I'm not ashamed, and it's not a crime. It's no fault of mine, and
Yes.
my parents aren't worthless either. My family isn't worthless. It's just that early exposure to these things, you have to fight hard and work hard to break those barriers and those chains.
That's right.
And I know many people across the region, even probably in Trinidad too. I mean, we are classified as third world or developing country or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the fancy term they put it, but we are poor people. We have a lot of
True.
people living beneath poverty lines, living on
Yeah.
some standard of living they can't afford. It's just the truth. So um, I did not make my university years go to waste because that was like my meal ticket. I saw that as
Exactly.
my meal ticket because I wasn't the most talented person. I tried athletics, I tried football, I tried swimming because I can do all of those. I can play football. I'm not the best football player. I can
Mm-hmm.
run. I can run, but I'm not Usain Bolt. And I can swim as well. I'm not Michael Phelps. But as I
Yeah.
said, I tried all of these things, among other things,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't master at any. you know. So I knew that education, academics, that was going well for me.
Yeah.
So I tug on to that, and I completed University of the West Indies. Now having student loan to repay.
Wow.
Um, Upon completion, I was a little bit worried, scared, because you'd hear the tragic experiences of the job market or job hunting. You know,
Yeah.
no, yeah, yeah, yeah. No work is just not available. You know,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
um, like it's very flaccid. You know, hundreds of
Yeah.
students graduating, and they just cannot absorb them. You know, I was worried about that at one point, but by now completing, I was actually working at the prior to completing, I was working at the main library and
Mm-hmm.
the university bookshop simultaneously. You know, simultaneously while doing my studies, my academics. So I was a student assistant at both departments. You know,
Yeah.
that was a blessing for me because that helped me tremendously with my finances. And affording myself certain luxury.
True.
You know, right? Um, so my manager at the time at the UL bookshop, when I told her that I am no longer a student, my degree was awarded. So I guess this is what goodbye for me. She told me not to worry myself. She told me not to worry myself, and I was actually um, a student assistant working in an open position at the time. There was an open desk, but I was a student assistant working in that desk at the time. And that was the position that was offered to me. How fortunate. you know. And
Exactly.
this was
Yeah.
within days. This was within days of telling her, that I'm completed. This was within days. So it's like, whoa. So I really don't have to worry about the job market.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it was a no-brainer for me to accept the offer, and I accepted the offer, and it was a no an employee, a temporary employee at the University of the West Indies Bookshop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, right. I I I quickly I quickly learned I quickly learned that as a staff, because I would do my research, I ask questions and I chat a whole heap, and I am very, very interactive. So I talk to everybody and stuff. I quickly learned that as a staff, after working for a certain amount of years, you become eligible to benefit from sponsorship from the institution for certain programs.
Okay.
They call them UGC funded programs. That's the
Mm-hmm.
University Grants Committee funded programs. So these are programs that are in alignment with certain areas that they would deemed probably development or critical or whatever it is to the vision of the university.
Yeah.
So they would offer these scholarships or sponsorships to encourage uptake in these areas. So as soon as I became eligible, I in fact before I was eligible, I had gotten one of the handbooks, the postgraduate handbook, and I went through it, you know, to find a
Mm-hmm.
UGC funded program that suits my appetite, my academic appetite, right? And I identified this program called International Public and Development Management. I think it's the
Mm-hmm.
management, quote unquote, that got my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Human resource management,
Yeah.
international public and development management. And I've always had the ambition of wanting to become a manager too,
Okay.
you know, a manager and an entrepreneur. So
Mm-hmm.
I've always had those ambitions that it developed within my tertiary years coming forward, you know. So seeing that in the handbook, I knew that that's the program that I wanted to do. It was UGC funded. So as I said, as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I became eligible, um, I
That was
applied.
it. Yeah.
I applied, and I had already identified my references, because you had was the I think the requirement was
Mm-hmm.
two reference, um, which would have been lecturers who would have taught you.
Oh.
Well, at least that was a requirement if you are coming from, well, if you did your undergrad at this institution, the same
Yeah.
institution rather.
Mm-hmm.
Externally, I'm not sure what the requirements are or
Okay.
were, but internally, you had was to be endorsed by two of your past lecturers. Um, so I already identified them. I had already identified them, and they were
Yeah.
very, very, very um, excited and happy to
Recommend
endorse me.
you.
Yeah, yeah, they were, and I got those letters and I got accepted. And I was now benefiting from the scholarship or the sponsorship of the institution. Um, Transitioning to postgrad,
Hmm.
I don't know. I was somewhat fearful, but at the same time open minded,
Yeah.
because otherwise I wouldn't have gone to that level. I just needed to excel further, you know.
Yeah.
I just needed to excel further, and I knew that I had to, because by the time having a bachelor's degree was somewhat overrated, and it was so popular, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to make yourself more competitive in the market. You know, it's either you're going to uptake or upskill yourself, up knowledge yourself, or up certify yourself. You know, upskill, up knowledge, up certify, but you have to be adding value to be
Definitely.
or to remain competitive. You
Yeah.
know, and I am on remember that I am on a journey of breaking barriers. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I could not get comfortable and complacent.
Exactly.
So I seized the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to, to enroll the postgrad at the expense of the university. Um,
Yep.
because by this I would still be repaying student loan. In fact, I am still repaying student loan. You know,
Mm.
I'm still in repayment.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I'm still on that journey. But you know, God in the midst and hard work and dedication, I'll complete that among other things. You
Amen.
know,
Mm-hmm.
I've never defaulted. I've never once defaulted. You know, hard sacrifice. Not that I'm in the most delightfully paid job or attractively paid job.
Yeah.
I have a lot of other responsibilities too, but I think it's an obligation. You know, I think it's an obligation that I have to uptake, and
Mm-hmm.
other students will or need to be benefiting. You know, I know there are other students who are in similar circumstance that I was in,
Yeah.
who are of need. You know, so um, I take the responsibility to refinance my student loan debt. In fact, my MSc research paper was actually in that area
Mm.
on that facility
Wow.
because I really deem it as a very important area, and it
Yeah.
is the entity that afforded me a university bachelor's degree. I had no other alternative. Nobody didn't saw the potential in me, and you know, as I said, I tried after scholarships and whatever, and nobody didn't see the potential. I said, I'm going to help this young man, but probably other people are more fortunate than I am. But here I am still. I made it through,
Exactly.
and I am doing that. So I completed my MSc just recently, just recently,
Congratulations.
right? But that wouldn't have been without some struggles, you know. And as the title states,
Yeah.
struggles to triumph,
Yeah.
because I remember in um in the master's program
Mm-hmm.
in a particular semester or starting a particular semester, I would have lost my aunt
Ooh.
who was dear to me, and
Hmm.
just 2 weeks after, I would have lost my grandfather.
Oh wow.
Right, so that was very what you call I don't know if it's traumatic if it is the right term, but dealing with that grief
Mm-hmm.
was difficult. Dealing with that grief was difficult, and I could hardly cope. I don't know. I mean, at some point, people lose loved ones. Um, some of the losses affect you different than others, but that was
True.
very close to my aunt and my granddad.
Mm-hmm.
Very close to them. Um, and losing them just 2 weeks apart, I just could not continue the semester. So I requested a leave of absence.
Yeah.
And my lecturers, they were very supportive because they
Mm-hmm.
actually saw the burden that it took on me too. So they were very very facilitating of the request, and I got it approved by the department. Um, I took that semester off.
Mm-hmm.
I restarted the following semester. Um, Transitioned pretty well. Complete all my third courses at this point. Somewhere along the line within that period, my daughter. came along too within that two and a
Beautiful.
half year period. So
Mm-hmm.
from auntie, auntie and granddad's transition into the afterlife to now a
Yeah.
life produced by myself, which brought a different joy to
Yeah.
me, but an added struggle to balance in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I couldn't opt out of the program again. I didn't, right. I just learned quickly to learned quickly to balance, you
Yes.
know, being now a new father, um, being a full-time employed, a full-time employee and a full-time or a student, a
Yeah.
postgraduate student. That was not easy, and I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that. That was not easy. And in fact, my daughter, she did not live very close to me. She lived in a different parish. Well, she lives in the parish where I'm from, but I was now residing in Kingston doing
Okay.
studies and work.
Mm-hmm.
I travel to Manchester sometimes, which is a good 1.5 hour drive, you know,
Yeah.
right, on good days if you're not speeding. And on other times, it can be a little longer, but you can't do that every day. Sometimes it's a burden. I mean, unless you work in the transportation industry where that's your livelihood, then you would have a reason to. But for
Yeah.
me, doing a 9 to 5 and then 3 hours or 4 hours of schooling in the evenings and then on the weekend having to travel sometimes that was burdensome. But I stuck to the task,
Yeah.
stuck to the responsibility, and I went through and I transitioned to doing my research paper after completing the taught courses. The research paper took me longer than I had expected. Not that I underestimated it, but for those who have gone that journey or treaded that journey, they will know what I am talking about. It can be difficult. It can be difficult, especially if you don't have like a facilitator or a supervisor who
Yeah.
works along with you, how you are supposed to be guided. To be a little bit more difficult. But fortunate for me, I had a great supervisor, a
Okay.
great supervisor, Dr. Gashir of the University of the West Indies. A great supervisor. She guided me pretty well, and I took kindly to her insights and her facilitating advices. And um, I got the paper completed, you know,
Beautiful.
and I also completed it with an A,
Wow.
which is
Congrats.
right,
Yeah.
which is a very elated feeling when I got that grade. And I would have put in a lot of work, to be honest. I would have. So I was pleased with that grade. And my degree was subsequently awarded, you know,
Yeah.
um, and that was the epitome of joy for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that was the epitome of joy for me. Um, and I recall reflecting on the journey, reflecting on the journey. And I I recall giving all thanks to God because it could not, no way, it could have been possible without His intervention.
Yeah.
Now, some things that happened along my journey, it had to be, and I have
Yeah,
always rested faith
definitely.
in Him. I've always rested faith in the Supreme Being, and
Yeah.
I am from a family that is a praying family and a believing family. My aunts, my uncles, you know, Christian people, um, very high in the faith. Sometimes I think that's the only thing that keeps them going because,
Yeah.
as I said, the realities of life or of my family's life that I know, it's 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 not the most attractive. As I said, they have to be resourceful people. I
Yeah.
know I know it's not uncommon, but I can only speak for what I know. I
Yes.
can't speak for anybody else's, and I am owning my story, owning my journey, and I wish not to
Mm-hmm.
falsify anything, you know, or to input any substance that is not or was not lived, and
Yeah.
I watched them over the years, and as I said, they are very praying and believing and faithful people to the faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as I said, for me, on my journey, it's the grace of God that brought me through, um, and I rested faith in Him. And here I am now, with a
Yeah.
master's degree in international public and development management, a BSc in human resource management, um, and the advent of that, it brought life or light to other mission. You know, um,
Yeah.
my dear friend Mark
Mm-hmm.
Burnett. I mean, if it was not for Mark, this program would not have been possible. Gratitude is a must, and I am forever indebted to Mark. Mark has been a friend and a mentor to me um, for the longest while,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of improvement that I would have made in the professional realm. You know, I rest that markedly to Mark, um,
Yeah.
because he really took the time out to have the pep talks. Sometimes it's really casual conversations, but it's so fruitful that you have to take kindly to the wisdom, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting, being awarded, the degree being awarded, and it came down to the point of graduation, and having to take graduation photos and so forth. But this has been virtual graduation because it is COVID, you know. Um, So because of COVID, the graduation ceremony would be held virtually, but you'd still be required to take the graduation photos. The graduation photos, they would you utilize that as a screen show in the virtual graduation ceremony. You'd have to pay for like the canister to put the certificate in, and I think the gown to take the photograph in. I think the package was for $8,000 or something of the sort, but for for some reason I decided that going to I was not going to take it on. I was strapped for cash and I could not afford that $8,000. Could not afford that $8,000, but at the last minute, after a conversation with Mark, at the last minute, I decided that I would use my last resources from my credit card and pay for it. You know,
Yeah.
because I know thought that I just need to share the story,
Definitely.
share the journey. And that was the primary reason why I actually went and paid for and took those photos. And the
Mm-hmm.
morning when I took the photos, because it's actually unofficial photos that I posted that actually got me in the light of the media,
Mm.
not the official one. The graduation was like 2 or 3 weeks after, where we got the actual graduation photos. So it's unofficial one, right? I spoke to Mark, and I wrote a snippet. I wrote a snippet, a short, um, a brief overview, right? And I sent it to Mark and asked him his opinion. Ask Mark his opinion, and he asked me a question. He asked me how I felt about it, and I asked myself the question as well. How do I feel about this? And I'm like, I never tell any lie. I never tell any lie. It's my story. I'm owning my story.
That's
That's
right.
what I said to Mark. I'm owning my story. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well. Well, see your answer there. That's the answer.
That's right.
And my very first post on LinkedIn was that snippet, along with the unofficial photo, two of the unofficial photos on the LinkedIn platform. I don't know why I chose to post it there, but I guess because of that's the most professional platform that I know.
Yeah.
You know, I posted on LinkedIn, and it started getting some traction. A colleague of mine, Odin Brooks, um, he reposted it, and he it just started gaining traction, and I was very taken aback. And as I said, I posted it primarily in light of inspiring and motivating others, who are of struggle,
Yeah.
um, others who are a failure, others who are in a situation where they feel as though they cannot move on.
Mm-hmm.
And the story just kept going. And I recall a few media houses reached out to me, or media personnel reached out to me.
Yeah. Hmm.
One of them stating that this is a very interesting story. I would like to learn more, and I uptake on the offer. And
Yeah.
you know, there were some deadlines that she had was to meet, and I remember slacking off a little bit because I was
Mm-hmm.
in dialogue with another media personnel as well, and she was I was slacking off, and she said to me that she has a one, I think it was a 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock deadline, and if I could send her the responses, excuse
Mm.
me, the responses within such time, and I I sent her the responses, meeting her deadline, but it wasn't early enough to meet the weekend gleaner that she
Oh.
wanted it to make. Right, so it actually came out in the week.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so and I remember she told me that it would be coming out, I think, in the Monday or the Tuesday paper. I think it's the Monday, or the Tuesday paper. And I was so excited. I was so excited when I went to work and I got a copy of the Gleaner and I saw myself in there on the story. That was the first time actually seeing the story that she would have written
Mm-hmm.
from what I would have given to her. And I was very pleased. I was very pleased. And from there, from there, people started reaching out. You know,
Yeah.
a lecturer from the University of Technology reached out to me to do a session with her.
Mm.
Right, in effort of encouraging students,
Yeah.
on ways and exposing them to how I did it, how I studied, how I,
Mm-hmm.
intricacies in academic pursuit, you know, and I shared with her on our platform. I was very grateful, and I remember being reached out by other uh, media stalwarts nationwide, Miss Kitty Live, um, Ray of Hope reached out to me
Hmm.
to do a feature. That story has now grown into what you would call a life changing one,
Yeah.
because that is a story that actually is showing the nation who Castillo
Mm-hmm.
Williams is
Yeah.
and his background, and while very vulnerable and
Mm-hmm.
exposed, while very vulnerable and exposed, it's like I walk with my shoulders broad and my chest out, and I'm very confident because that's my truth and that's my
Yeah.
story. I have no regret, no remorse, and I tell it every day. I'd share it every day. And as I said, the purpose of which I shared it is to inspire and motivate. So
I love.
coming out of the story, Mark, um, that's that Gleaner story, Mark had Mark came to me with an idea. How do you feel about a mentorship program?
Hmm.
And I'm like, of course, why not? Why not? we have traveled so far and we have garnered so much, and we are still on the journey. So why not? It's giving back, you know. It's
Yeah.
giving back, even though we are not where we are comfortable or where we want to be ideally, but we have to start somewhere. And I took kindly to Mark's idea, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. And knowing Mark, Mark is a serial mentor. You know,
Yeah.
Mark is an engineer. Mark is a globally recognized or globally certified project manager. Mark wears so many hats. He's so talented. He's so, and I look up to him. So I took kindly to the idea. If you are driving this, then of course I'll partner with you and we'll do this. And we know people will be of benefit, students, professionals, and otherwise
Yeah,
will be of
definitely.
benefit. And we came up with the program, Struggles to Triumph Mentorship Program.
I just want to put it up for a moment. I'm
Right.
sorry it is so small, but
But it's alright. It's alright.
yeah,
You can share it in other links elsewhere.
platforms.
But
Yeah.
that's actually the flyer for the program that Mark and I
Mm-hmm.
are looking to put a lot of effort in sharing developmental attributes with others.
Definitely, yeah.
Um, so the the contact information is on there, and for anyone who feels as though they they need any guidance in whatever area, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
professional or otherwise. As I said, Mark is phenomenal. Mark is phenomenal, and Mark is an international mentor. Mark has mentored on many programs
Yeah,
globally.
I'm fortunate to be one of his mentee.
Look at that. You see what I'm saying? So you can probably attest. You
Yes,
can
he's great.
attest,
He's great.
to the leadership behind this program,
Yeah.
to the leadership behind this program. And, we are not seeing any borders with this program,
Yes.
you know, no geographical border,
Exactly.
no ethnic border, no stereotype really. If you need help or leadership or guidance or whatever it is, whether academic or professional or otherwise, you know, we
Certainly.
are putting our effort in this. And personally, I have gone through, I lived it, so I can do no less than just walk you through it. It was
Exactly.
my life for
Yeah.
quite a number of years. I've gone through all of the struggles, the economical struggles, the feeling struggles,
Mm-hmm.
the setbacks, the pullouts, the hiccups. I've gone through all of
That's
them,
a lot.
but
Yeah.
I've found the resilience. I've found the resilience. I've found the strength. I've found the vigor. I've found all that is required to keep
Mm-hmm.
me in the race. As I said, I've gotten a lot of encouragement, a lot of support too.
Yeah.
I've reached out for all those too, and
Mm-hmm.
there are entities that are there to help. There are fraternities that are there to help. There are people that are
Yeah.
there to help. You know, we just have to acknowledge the fact that we are in a particular situation or we are faced with a particular struggle and reach out. And we have to want to. We have to want to
Exactly.
win to win. We have to want to do better. We have to want to add value. You know, it's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen unless we want to.
That's right.
So
I
I
love
just
that.
want to use the opportunity to encourage all the listeners, the present listeners, future listeners,
Mm-hmm.
people who may need the advice, people who may want to hear this, that you have to just get up, brush off, and keep it moving. You know, keep it moving, and that's the only way you're going to reap the desired success. You know,
Definitely.
that's the only
Definitely.
way. And more importantly, too, I don't know. You have people of different faith. You have people of different belief. But personally, for me, I rest an assured faith in the powers of the Almighty King. They call him God, Jehovah, many names. But I rest faith in that supreme being.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm very faithful, very spiritual. I'm not a Christian, but at the same time, I really do believe in the higher power and have
Yeah.
seen him working the miracles and him um, going through my life with purpose, And I've
Yeah.
always prayed, I've always prayed um, and ask him to, make me out to be somebody of significance, somebody of purpose. You know, my grandfather was a pastor, Pastor Gerald Williams. Um, he was a pastor, and I've listened to him preach many times.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to him preach many times, and my uncle is a pastor. My aunt is an evangelist. I have many family of very calling purpose
Yeah.
within that spiritual realm. But as I said, my life brought me to many struggles, many
Mm-hmm.
exposure to many things of the world, which could have resulted or impacted my life negatively or otherwise. But here I am today. Um,
Yep. Here
Here I
you
am today
are.
from one CXC to an MSc or a master's degree in international public and development management, and I am
Yeah.
nowhere yet. I am nowhere yet, but I am I am highly anticipating, you know, the opportunities or the advances, and I'm deliberate about it too. Because
Yeah.
personally, I'll not settle. I have not. I've never settled. I
Hmm.
kept adding value in one way or another.
Yeah.
Hence, why I'm here today. I'm triumphing over so many struggles.
That's right.
Not Probably not common to myself alone, because I know many people are, exposed to whatever their struggles may be.
Mm-hmm.
But I am vocal about mine, at least my triumph, or my
Yeah.
testimony. I'm very vocal, and I am acknowledging my story.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh wow. Thank you so much, Castillo Williams, for sharing that inspiring story. And I know for a fact that persons were blessed, and indeed, as I listen and I ponder on your journey, it's like wow, wow. The first thing that came to me, Mark, I know you're listening, but the first thing that came to me is like, hey, we need to have like a Zoom session organized sometime maybe early next year by God's grace, whereby we just send out letters to maybe the different education ministries. I mean, you have connection with Jamaica, I have connection with Guyana, and well, Trinidad now, whereby we can have our students in a platform whereby those who are struggling, those who have gone through failures, those who parents maybe would have given up on them, teachers would have given up on them, for them to just sit and listen to your story, the progress report, where you came from, what you would have accomplished, and the fact that you are still going. And by God's grace, we're going to talk, we're going to accomplish that by God's grace. And so that
Of
this can
course.
certainly
Of course, the
inspire
doctoral
others.
programs are there, the PhD programs are there, and the ambition is here. So
That's
we're
right.
not limiting ourselves to anything. As I said, we're just on that journey, and we'll keep adding value. And we're
Definitely.
deliberate about that. And we're on this journey as well, where we are looking to give back as much as we can. You
Yeah.
know, Struggles to Triumph mentorship program is here to help
Yes.
those who are in need, or those who want to reach out to request it. We are deliberate about it, and
Mm-hmm.
Shabiki is on that journey as well, because here she is lending a platform, to raise
Yeah.
our voice, elevate our voice across the region, across the
Definitely.
world, So that in itself is a blessing too. That in itself is a blessing too.
Man, it's just a pleasure having you. Pleasure for you being here, Castillo Williams. And I know this, of course, would not be our final connection. And I know that God will certainly continue to bless you. And even as we close this evening, I really and truly just want to say a special prayer for you. that indeed that God will continue to bless you as you continue this journey. I want to see the next 5 years. I want to hear about Castillo Williams, what he has accomplished,
I
and
want to hear
maybe
about that person too.
yeah. And I guess when very soon as your daughter steps in, I mean, she's here. One day your daughter will be able to talk. Oh, my daddy! Oh,
Oh,
I've
for
listened to my
real.
daddy's
That's a
struggles.
dream.
Yeah,
That's a
and
dream.
yeah, I'm so happy for you. So I'm just gonna pray for you as we close, and then we're gonna play our outro um, for this evening. All right, great. Let's pray. Father God, we are so thankful for Castil's journey. You have indeed been with him. You have inspired people to help him along this journey. And even as they embark on the mentorship program himself and Mark, I pray indeed that you will send persons to the platform. May you send individuals who really and truly need the help, need the inspiration, need the motivation so that they too can be successful. I pray for all, even that I pray that this program here would be such that would inspire thousands and even perhaps millions, that indeed when they look and they listen to his journey and the different platforms that he would have been on, that indeed they too will be encouraged. So bless him, continue to provide all the resources that he needs. May you be with his family, in a special be with his daughter too, Lord. And I pray, Lord, that indeed you will help them as a family to grow from strength to strength. So have your way, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All
Awesome.
right. So God, blessings. I'm seeing Marty Buffett here. Yeah, keep pushing, keep pushing.
Blessings to all your listeners, blessings to all who joined currently, all who will maybe come across the session in future, because I'm sure you're gonna
Mm,
make it private, to future listeners. So blessings to
definitely.
all who engage us. You too are a blessing, Shabiki, and continue doing the great thing that you are doing.
Thank you very
That's
much.
inspiring too.
Thank you. All right, so good night to everyone, and I'm gonna see you again next week, Thursday. And so stay tuned for our next program. Bye bye.
Bye.
You have been a wonderful audience. Don't forget to like the page and follow on Facebook at Issues in Focus with Shibiki Vibers. And subscribe to the YouTube channel Issues in Focus with Shibiki Vibers. Follow me also now on Instagram with username Shibiki. Join us next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. God's blessings. See you then.